Thank you so much for coming on my channel to give your testimony. Now, to be clear, we're having this conversation because you contacted the mainstream media here in Sweden, and none of them were interested in telling your story. First off, why don't you tell the audience what kind of doctor you are so they get a picture?
Yes, I'm a general practitioner. I work at a private outpatient clinic in Tranås in Småland, below Stockholm, and I care for, on my list, a little over 2,000 patients.
Now, you were handed out a document from your county and an instruction video telling you how to do with older corona patients. What did they instruct you exactly?
Yeah, it's this is a little bit complicated because it's two regions. This is a composite of. I counted to 24 days ago when I went out officially on my Facebook page because I got the video. And after I did that, people gathered to my Facebook page. People started to dig. And after a while, the more clear instructions on paper came to me from somebody who leaked it from Gävleborg, which is far from where I practice. But the instruction video I got was quite clear to me. I know what's going on in Swedish healthcare. I know all the hidden signs and all of that. So when I got a video that clearly stated that the care plan all your patients that are elderly, and care planning means that you take a decision whether or not they should get intensive care or hospital care or different levels of care. And together with this, I got this instruction video that when I watched it, my stomach turned. And after watching it through, it was completely clear to me that we were supposed to treat palliatively our patients with morphine for anxiety when they have dyspnea. And there was no mention of oxygen at all. And of course, I know the inside and insides and out of, because when you work in general practice, you are in contact with every level of healthcare and everything surrounding any patient in any part of their life. So I have a real inside look at this. And to me, it was clear if we are supposed to palliatively care with morphine and there is no oxygen and they don't want us to send the patients to the hospital, they will suffocate to death and we will take their anxiety away and nothing else. Because I know and everyone else knows there is no such thing as oxygen in homes for the old in Sweden.
Yes, that was Gävleborg County sent out that document being clear that nobody who's older at nursing homes should be administered oxygen gas. Now, I've seen some people defend that decision by saying that they just want to spare old people the pain and anxiety. It's not supposed to kill them, so you got to find the right dosage. That's what the document really means, they say. But what's your take on that?
Well, that's a blatant lie. I know exactly what it means. I'm a senior doctor. In Sweden. I am it's a speciality in Sweden to become a general practitioner, and it's a cover-up story, blatantly. There's no doubt about it. It says clearly that we don't supply oxygen, and it states clearly that you're not supposed to send senior citizens and with risk factors to the hospital. It's clear cut. There's nothing to say about it.
Right, they're telling you basically that you should sedate the person to death instead of giving them any basic care.
If they have respiratory symptoms, yes, that's what it says.
What do you think of the document sent out at Karolinska in Stockholm instructing staff to deny intensive care to anyone who's over 60 with multiple conditions and over 80, period? Because it sounds very close to the document that you took a look at. They're expecting people to deny crucial oxygen instead.
You know, that document isn't that severe to me because I'm not a specialist in the field of intensive care. And if there's a decision not to treat some patients older than 80 in one way, you do it one way in one country, one way in the other country, and it's not that clear cut that it's wrong. It looks really bad, but I won't say anything definite about it. But what that document tells me is that you can sense and you can get a picture of what patients they're talking about. When they're talking about the elderly, it is from 80 years and up, and 65 with risk factors and up. So that document is sort of evidence of the age of whom they are talking about in the Gävle document. The Gävle document is a clear-cut human rights violation. It should be treated as a crime and prosecuted in front of a judge.
It's a strong statement, but it's entirely warranted. I read the different. It's strange because different counties all seem to have this similar things going. Like I read another report where numerous doctors in Stockholm were talking about how patients that would have had a good chance of surviving otherwise are being denied readily available intensive care units. And the county of Västernorrland, for example, are denying ICUs to old patients. And so as a result, 10 out of 15 die in a nursing home without ever even being taken to the hospital. A medical officer interviewed said it's more rule than exception to let old people die like this. It kind of sounds like there's an unofficial ban on helping older patients. What's your take on that?
Well, there's some muddling of the waters when we talk about this. It has become clear to me that there are people in the media and in official places that try to equate intensive care with common oxygen treatment. And this is, I cannot, I really have to be really strong about this. They are different things. I have a video where my 5-year-old daughter successfully administers oxygen to her doll and to herself. It's nothing complicated at all. You can do it in the middle of the desert. You can do it on top of Mount Everest, and people do that on top of Mount Everest. There's no intensive care unit on top of Mount Everest. You just breathe oxygen. That's simple. So the big issue here is not intensive care, whether or. I don't want to go into the subject because it becomes an academic discussion. I am completely focused on the oxygen situation because that's not an academic issue at all. We can save approximately 2/3 of the people that will suffocate to death in nursing homes at any age. We can save them with oxygen, and this will be a lot of people. We don't know. A lot of people think that 20,000 people will die in vain because there is no oxygen for them to have. So, we can save upwards of 15,000 people just administering oxygen. That's cheap. It's harmless. Unless you have severe KORP, that is in Swedish KOL, then it's sort of dangerous. But look, even when they've said in Gävle, the chief of staff doctor there he was interviewing, he said that it's dangerous for those with severe KORP. That's complete nonsense, because it's better to give them oxygen and let them die of carbon dioxide narcosis than let them die of morphine.
Right, so it's sort of like they're not even trying to do the bare minimum to save people at the nursing homes is like the first step. So
yeah,
what kind of response have you gotten in Sweden talking out about this? Like, is anyone giving you flack over this?
When you become a doctor, you not only learn the medical stuff, you learn the culture, you learn what goes and not and what doesn't. And what I've done is unforgivable in the eyes of the profession, because it's I've sold out the insides the very large majority of doctors, it's no surprise to me that I am not very popular. I will probably never work in state-funded or region-funded or communal-funded care as long as I live.
Wow.
Regardless if I'm proven wrong or right in this, it's not gonna happen. But I have support. I have a lot of supporters that are anonymous that contact me on Messenger and say, do what you do. I'm behind you. And there are some that are semi-anonymous. They are in groups that are like protected with because they were not official in Facebook groups. So they say what they think there, but they don't go out in public like I do. And I am in contact with one other doctor that came to my site that is more official. But they're very scarce, the people who stand behind me.
Do you get nurses and doctors that corroborate what you've seen?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I have contacts everywhere now, and I mean, everyone corroborates what I say. That I'm in contact with. I get on Messenger all the time. It's very good you're doing this because it's a good thing you're getting this out there. And
but they don't. Is it the case that they are afraid to speak out because they're afraid of what's going to happen to their employment?
Of course, they're scared, and they should be. They will get in trouble over it, and it's already happened. Right now I have two witnesses, one who give witness that her grandmother died without oxygen, and of course I have Latifa who testified of exactly what I said and has been worried about. It's also official. And then there are two others. One has withdrawn his statement because of legal issues, because he's been threatened with lawsuits, so it's withdrawn.
Who threatened him? Was it his employer who made that threat?
Yeah, he was pressured and threatened with a lawsuit of But publicity is key. The more people that give statements to me, witness statements, the more everyone will be safe and something will be done. So I really urge people who listen to your show, contact me. My number is open, SMS or telephone.
Absolutely. I'll put all your YouTube channel, all your contact information in the video description. Absolutely.
Very good. Make an anonymous. You can write a letter to me anonymously, and I can keep it safe. We can do a telephone interview. We can do a split screen Skype interview. Any level is good, but we have to have corroboration of evidence on a massive scale to prove the claim that I'm making, that this is a systematic human rights abuse of the elderly and the weak. Don't forget, Down syndrome is like a huge risk factor. So it's a lot of people. It's a lot of both young and old.
Yes, there are more people in risk groups than many would imagine even, and you don't always know if you're in a risk group either. I saw that Time magazine commented on the Swedish strategy, and they were interviewing a chief doctor who testified to medical staff being instructed to keep working even though they have corona, even though they test positive but not necessarily have symptoms. But he was afraid to speak out. He had to be anonymous in Time because there's such a huge taboo surrounding this. It really is like we have a silence culture here.
Of course. We've had it for a long time. I mean, everyone knows that in their gut. Everyone knows that it's dangerous to speak out, speak your mind in Sweden. But it's accelerated in my adult life. It's very troublesome, and now it's on a pinnacle where people are afraid to speak out about heinous crimes done systematically. So I see that if I can raise awareness of oxygen and help get this out into media and politicians so that they're forced to change and try to give oxygen to all the elderly with a huge effort. We have to reach out to industry to find solutions, and it's going to cost a lot of money, and there's going to have to be planning and work. I'm not afraid to work. I don't think anyone should. Work hard to save lives. I mean, if we don't save them all, that's okay if we tried as hard as we could. But it's not okay if people die and we did nothing.
Is it the case that a lot of hospital staff, a lot of nursing homes don't even have masks?
Yeah, they don't. But I mean, of course they don't if nobody's buying them. It's a product, and you can always get it if you pay the right price. It's about prioritizing. And as I see it, we actually didn't have a plan for a pandemics plan. So if we didn't save up for a plan, we're going to have to pay now when the pandemic is here. And I am not seeing a lot of spending. I'm seeing a lot of spending on Volvo to keep them happy. I'm not seeing a lot of spending to keep the staff uninfected so they don't infect the elderly. I read an article that Finland was flying in 6 full planes of protective equipment from China, and they paid a lot for it. But, if you want something, you're going to have to pay for it. I'm a very curious doctor, and when I hear about an exotic virus, I'm going to read everything there is about it. And I mean, early on in January, February, we knew what was going on in China. We knew the medication that could be used, how contagious it would be, that mouth covers were really... I mean, do you remember the pictures in December where Chinese healthcare workers were using hazmat suits?
Yeah.
That should ring a bell in someone's head. If they wear hazmat suits, why are we wearing nothing? I saw pictures from Kenya. The nurses was wearing what only looked to my eye was like hazmat suits, masks and goggles and full protective clothes. I don't think they need our help in Kenya. We need their help.
Yeah, even poorer countries have a better array of equipment than Sweden. Why do you think our politicians are so unwilling to act? Does it have to do with ego and image, perhaps wanting to maintain an image, or resource deficit? Do we even have one? What is your take on this unwillingness that's so persistent for months on end?
It's bewildering. It gives nourishment to all kinds of conspiracy theories. When you see the government act in clearly irrational ways, everyone is going to start to think about their theory for why they are acting like they are. Because we are human beings, we always seek to find meaningful actions and thoughts in other people's. That's empathy. When you look at someone who is acting really strange, you always do your best to try to understand why they are acting like they are. But the kindest thing I could ever say is that it's about prestige, because we didn't think it would come here, and when it did, we got paralyzed. I mean, you can really see that, how hard the authorities are working on just doing nothing. Oxygen, it's a very simple tool, and we have abundance of it. I think there are 5 factories in Sweden producing oxygen, and there are unlimited resources of oxygen because we have factories for oxygen.
So where can people find you, and what can they do to help out in this situation?
I've tried to be on all kinds of media, but my main home place is my Facebook account with my name, John Tallinger. I become friends with everyone who asks, and then I try to put my videos on YouTube, and I also go out on LinkedIn to show my material, and I'm on Twitter. So what I'm trying to do is build up a big organization doing a lot of different things. So we're strong in numbers.
And sounds like you keep growing. I would really like to urge the audience to subscribe to your YouTube channel, because I checked out several of your videos and there was a lot of interesting details there and interviews and such. I would like to thank you for sharing your story. It's very important what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.